YouTube, I apologize if at any point in this video I sound incredibly congested or if it looks like my eyes are drooping out of my skull. It is officially allergy season, and my body is slowly dying. But it's also MLB The Show 24 season, which is giving me just enough life to carry on every single day. And while I am thoroughly enjoying my MLB The Show 24 playing experience so far, that does not mean we cannot critique the things that need to be critiqued. This game is not perfect. I'm finding it fun. I think it's better than last year, but it's not perfect. And so today I have 10 things for you. 10 things we're going to talk about that I think need some work. One of them, an extra one, an 11th one, was going to be how custom jerseys cause your game to just not work and crash and you can't get into games online and stuff. That has since been patched. So hopefully the goal here is to bring these things to the attention of the developers so they can patch them as well. If you are new here, hello, my name is Kenny, and this is Whiteboard Wednesday. This is the MLB The Show 24 content that includes zero actual gameplay. It's just me and a whiteboard, and I tend to yell and ramble and say a bunch of nonsense. But we have fun here. We break up the monotony of the same old MLB The Show 24 content on YouTube, so I hope you guys enjoy it, and if you do, hit that subscribe button. Pitching so far this year is very, very challenging. In my humble estimation, I consider myself pretty damn good at this game. I went flawless 20 times in MLB The Show 23, and I made World Series every single season. But here I am, struggling to get anybody out at the plate. Go ahead, comment skill issue. Comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. But I just think pitching is kind of in a weird place right now. I can't quite put my finger on it, but something's up. And then to further add to that, pinpoint pitching feels like you just took your thumb, popped it in a vat of bacon grease, and it's slipping and sliding everywhere. It is hard. Damn near impossible to get perfect input on pinpoint. And maybe that's a good thing. I don't think it should be an easy thing to do, but I can tell you right now it is too hard at this moment. The issue is exacerbated with certain pitchers from the stretch. Jose Leclerc is one of them. I've heard Gregory Soto's sinker is freaking really hard to do, and I can confirm that the SDS devs are at least aware of the problem. What they do to fix it, I don't know. If they fix it, I don't know. But I can tell you at the very least that they're aware. My general advice to pinpoint, whether some pitchers are kind of wonky right now or not, is to go slower than you think you have to. That's not going to solve every single problem. I understand the pacing seems to be warped or weird for some reason, but I promise you, just generally speaking, going slower than you think is going to help a lot. It is irresponsible to wear blue light glasses playing MLB The Show 24 because you need to wear sunglasses. It's like a flashbang went off in your room. And if you're playing at 2 a.m., the lights are off, it's going to literally melt your eyes from your head. Staring too close at any screen is never good, but this is definitely probably not recommended by your ophthalmologist? Ophthalmologist. Yeah, ophthalmologist. The menus are simply far too bright. They look really good. I'm actually a big fan of the design choices. I like how the 24 is kind of stylized to look like almost like a paintbrush stroke, and they've carried that kind of like, I don't know, snazzy type of look throughout the entire game. I like the color scheme largely other than the bright white screen. But I will say, it definitely needs a dark mode. And some of the fonts, while cool, when they're that tiny and they're that color, they're a little bit difficult to read. I'm personally having a problem seeing the difference for base runners between someone whose speed starts with an 8 and someone whose speed starts with a 6, and there are other problems just like that kind of throughout the game. I don't know if that's something that can be patched mid-year. That's a big design choice that was made well early in the whole process, but it is something that I've noticed and other people have complained about as well. There has been a bug identified pretty early on by the community, and I think it had to do with the custom jerseys, but I've also seen some people still experience it since the patch. The waiting for glitch, where when you queue into a game, no matter if your opponent readies up or not, and you guys both are readied up, it still says waiting for your opponent. That's not good. That means online play is largely not working for you. So I really don't know how to fix this. SDS obviously has developers who are hard at work trying to figure it out. I hope for you the custom jersey patch worked. If not, I've got my fingers crossed for you that it gets fixed soon. It is unfortunately back, the bane of most of the player base's existence in MLB The Show 23 for at least 3 or 4 weeks. The two-way player glitch is back. For those of you who don't know what this is, I'm going to regret telling you this, I'm sure. It's if you have a two-way player, like a John Donaldson, a Babe Ruth, a Rube Foster, a Martin DeHigo, we can keep going here. If you bring them out of the bullpen, it doesn't matter if they pitched 157 pitches the last game, they will have full stamina. So you see this get exploited in places like BR, where people will draft the two-way Babe Ruth and pitch him out of the bullpen every single game. You'll see it in ranked, where Chase Pack John Donaldson and his outlier slider are pitching every single inning of every single game, as soon as he's eligible to come in. So it's clearly a problem. It was fixed last year, and it was fixed correctly. It was never a problem again. So I'm hoping that they know where the code is, they know that they can fix it, and they just decide to deploy it in a bigger patch pretty freaking soon, because it's frustrating. In an effort to balance out the speed at which people are finishing the program path and unlocking the beefy 99s like Andy Pettit towards the end of that program path, SDS has put a very strict cap on experience gained, and I don't know how I feel about it. On one hand, I truly do appreciate the XP cap, because I do like the way the game feels balanced right now, and to flood it with too many 99s when they're really focused on the power creep is a very bad thing. However, it feels like I hit the XP cap really, really quickly. So I don't know what the solution is. We could raise the XP cap, for sure. It does mean we'll speed the progress along, though. An alternative to that is to just reduce the amount of XP people gain on an inning-to-inning basis. The XP cap will stay the same, it might just take us longer to fill it. I don't think that's going to be a popular option. I think XP cap right now is something like 30,000 or 40,000 XP a day. I do think we need to bump it up a little bit. I think 50,000 is a good number. Most people won't hit that in the day, and honestly, most people won't hit the current XP cap in a day either, but for the people who are hardcore grinders, it does seem like they're getting capped out a little too soon. Now, I myself have been #blessed this year because I have not experienced a single freeze or disconnect from any online gameplay. I've played about 35 event games and honestly probably about the same amount of BR games, and occasionally there will be some weird connections, but mostly it feels pretty smooth. But my experience doesn't mean that's everybody's experience. I can confirm that people are still having freezing issues. Perhaps even worse than freezing is a disconnect. A disconnect is completely out of your control, and you could be winning the game and suddenly the game just takes a fart and you lose. For example, people who are hardcore players know this name, newbies to the game won't. But Frosty, largely considered a top 5, a top 3, maybe even a top 1 player in this game, was 100-0 in ranked. That is correct. 100 wins and 0 losses during early access. And he lost his first game from a disconnect. So, it's saddening. He was surely not going to finish the year perfect, but homie was 100-0. That's just crazy. Freezing has been an issue in MLB The Show titles literally forever. And I'm not saying we should accept it. It's not acceptable. From what I understand, it's something in the legacy code, and if you mess with the legacy code, it could potentially make the game ruined forever. I'm not a developer. I could be very wrong there. I'm just saying what I've heard. All I know is that freezing is sometimes better some years than it is in others, and my fingers are crossed that it does not become a problem this year, because otherwise, online has felt pretty okay. The sunglasses are back on, because when you're playing Conquest and you're operating between phases like attack, steal fans, reinforce, simulate, the menus that are flashing on the screen are like a flash mob. It's like something crazy's going off. You're at a rave, there's people wearing weird clothing with masks over their faces, and there's clouds of smoke in the air, and there's neon lights everywhere, and your head is pounding. You can tell that I've been to one of these before. But the Conquest menu flashing is a problem. It is even worse than the UI brightness. It's something that could literally cause your head to erupt and explode. So I hope it gets fixed. It can't be that hard of a fix. Let's just lighten the aggressiveness of the menus flashing in and out. In my opinion, the outfield is playing pretty big this year. I kind of like that. A lot more balls are getting down the line, a lot more balls are shooting the gaps. That could be because fielders aren't yet super diamonds with 95 speed. It could be just because exit velocities are up, so balls are hitting the gaps harder. I hope that's the case, because I don't want to see doubles go away. But there is one problem I've noticed. I think the field is playing too big in front of the outfielders. I've kind of noticed that they're playing real friggin' deep to start. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but there have been a lot of fluky, jammed inside sinker hits that just plop over the first and third baseman, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. And it's very frustrating, let me tell you, because I can guarantee with 100% certainty that the next pitch is sailing 550 at 117 exit velo over the fence. There's a portion of the That's Baseball crowd that is okay with the flukies. Given the situation and given the swing, like, sometimes I'm okay with it. Sometimes I can be like, you know what? That is a semi-realistic outcome. But there are a lot of times where my opponent is continually getting blown back by fastballs. Like, the timing's not there. My opponent's not a great hitter. And then the bailout in that situation is really unfortunate. There are some times where I'm playing a good opponent who I know has taken good swings, who I think at least put the PCI on the ball. It's a case-by-case basis. But for a lot of people, there have been way too many fluke hits. I've saved these two things for last because they pair together, and you could argue they could be one bucket on their own, but I've decided to split it up. During the run-up to MLB The Show 24, SDS placed a lot of emphasis on new fielding animations and urgency. And there are times when I can feel it and see it, and I'm like, wow, that's neat. That works. That is, in fact, an improvement over last year. Then there are times when the fielder basically slaps me in the face with his leather glove. I have for you an example that's happened twice to me in the last 24 hours. This is my left fielder. Let's call him J.D. Davis, because that's exactly what happened to. Here is the baseball diamond. You'll notice it's shaped like a diamond. The pitch is hit into shallow left field. Let's say it's going to land right about there. This is the batted ball marker. See, notice, it looks like a baseball. So J.D. Davis is charging in. He's charging in. It's one of those in-between diver plays. You have to make a decision. I have chosen not to dive. I have chosen to actually stand pat back here to field the ball on a bounce and get it into the infield before the runner can get to second base. Instead, J.D. Davis goes like this. Oh! And the ball dribbles all the way back here. And what does the opponent do? He makes his happy ass all the way to third base. It is terrible. I hope this diagram makes sense. I think it's pretty good. So as good as urgency sometimes feels in this game, I also think there have been some poopy animations added to the game. When you add 400 new animations, not all of them will be positive. I truly understand that. But this right here, this stinks. And the last thing I want to talk about is also fielding related. I have noticed that on slow rollers, primarily to shortstop, maybe it happens to second baseman too, I haven't experienced it yet, but slow rollers to shortstop, there comes a point where your shortstop just stops charging it, and he plants both his feet in the infield dirt, and he just waits lazily for the ball come to him. The runner could have 14 speed, he could have 97 speed. It doesn't matter, he stops charging the ball. And then by the time you field it cleanly, your guy is already safe to first. Heck, he's practically rounding the bag because that's how much time it took you to get the ball. I don't know if this is a new animation, I don't know if this is a glitch, but let me tell you, it's very frustrating because just like in the other situation, that fluke leads to a nuke. Fluke to nuke is actually a really good catchphrase that we should popularize in the community because it's perfect. Generally speaking, guys, bugs can and will be fixed. A handful of these things we talked about are bugs. It takes time to identify them, it takes time to recode them, it takes time to deploy the code. But there are some things that I am a little worried about that we're going to be dealing with all year. I don't know if that's going to take away the enjoyment of how the game mostly feels, because like I said, the game feels pretty good, but there are some things the community has been saying, and it's a popular consensus for the most part, so I'm curious to see what SDS does about it. If you've identified any other issues that I did not talk about, please put them in the comments down below. Comments defeat the YouTube algorithm, and subscriptions, new ones, put smiles on my face. So make sure you hit that sub button, and that's it. Thank you guys for making it to the end. This has been Whiteboard Wednesday, and I'll see you next time.